Okay, in chapter 9, again, we're going to just touch on some things. This is rational equations and applications. So before we were dealing with expressions, but we actually have equations, and you've probably seen some of these before. However, you probably had some numbers in the denominators rather than variables. So the big difference here is we need to take into consideration the domain and what x cannot be, which we already looked at previously. So if we look at example 9.1, find the excluded values of the expression 2 over 7x minus 9. So for classwork, you guys can try that. So just pause. So for this one, we would set x minus 9 not equal to 0. So remember, it's all real numbers such that 7x minus 9 is not equal to 0. So we're going to solve this out and get 7x equals positive 9. And then we would divide by 7 on both sides, 9/7. So it's not equal to. So all real numbers such that x cannot equal 9/7. Okay, but if we have a polynomial that we need to factor, we'll need to figure that out first. I'm going to just let you guys go ahead and try that one again, and I'm going to stop the video and write out the step. All right, so you can see my answer here, all real numbers, x not equal to -2 or -1, and here's my work, just to show you there. Definitely had to factor first. So the new concept here is when we're clearing a denominator and we have variables in the denominator, we need to know where they're undefined. And then if one of our answers comes out to be that value, it's called extraneous. Okay, so if we obtain a solution that is an excluded value, we call this an extraneous solution. And I would say even in pre-calc, students really tend to forget to do that. They don't do the check. Like, you could set your domain ahead of time and then you'll be all set. Or once you find your answer, you can plug it in to see if it checks. You could, you want to make sure your sides balance anyway. So that's always a good idea. And then you would notice if you had an undefined situation for one of them, because usually you're going to get a couple of answers. So on this one, if you remember, we clear the denominator, we multiply by the common denominator. So in this case, we have factors. So we have 2x minus 5 and 2x minus 3. So I am going to multiply both sides by 2x minus 5 times 2x minus 3, because that's my lowest common denominator. 2x minus 5 times 2x minus 3. So just like with numbers, I want to reduce this out so that I don't have anything left there. You could also cross multiply on this one. Key thing is make sure you use parentheses, okay? So I'm left with, on the left hand side, I have 2 times 2x minus 3. And on the right hand side, I'm left with 6 times 2x minus 5. Now I'm going to distribute, and I get 4x minus 6 equals 12x minus 30. And then I need to do my solving process here. So I'm going to go this direction. I'm going to subtract 4x from both sides. And I'm going to add 30. So then that leaves me with a 24 equals 8x. So x equals 3. Now let's look at our domain. Do we have any issues with that? Let me get rid of this here. So if I look back, and if I were to plug 3 back into my denominator, 2 times 3 is 6, minus 5 is 1, so I'm good there. 2 times 3 is 6 minus 3, I would get 3. But another thing I can do is kind of set my restrictions ahead of time. Do that up here. So if I look at what my domain should be, it can be all real numbers such that x is not equal to, let's see, this one would be 5 over 2, or and or, I'll just put a comma, 3 halves. And I didn't get either of those numbers for my answer, so I'm good. So for chapter 9, that's really all I want to point out to you. It can get pretty complicated, as you can see. So just kind of when you're doing the lessons, I'll just put a few simple ones for you to do that are similar to what we did here. And just reviewing that idea of clearing the denominator. Part B here for 9.3, that's kind of a good one to try for some practice if you want to do that as a classwork. You can pause it, but this will be the last one we'll do in chapter 9. Blow it up a little there. So we have 3b, a 6b, a 2b, and a 3. So our common factor would be, or our lowest common denominator, I guess, would be the 6b. So I want to write 6b here. I want to multiply every term by 6b, so that way I can clear my denominators. So I'm going to end up with, on the top there, I'll end up with a 2. That one's just a 1. This one will end up with a 3 and then a 2. So when I multiply that out, I'll get 8 plus, that's just a 1. And then I end up with equals, but this one has to be a 2b on the top here. Lost my b. Equals my 21 plus 2b. Okay, so just to clarify, this b doesn't cancel out because that one's only has a number, so I need to have a b left in there somewhere. And this will simplify here to 9 equals 21 plus 2b. And then subtract the 9 minus 21. So I'm going to get negative 12 equals 2b. Divide both sides by 2. And I get b equals negative 6. And I want to see if that is going to fit my domain. So my domain on this one would actually just be b cannot equal 0. So all real numbers such that b is not equal to 0. So I'm good with this value here of b equals negative 6. All right, so that's it for chapter 9. Thanks for watching and have a great day.